Hey, it's Jeremy from Jeremy.net. I am a comic book artist, writer, creator, self-publisher, and I share my creative process here with you online. If you'd like to get additional bonus live streams twice a month, including our art book study group session, which we have coming up this week, if you would like to be able to read my comics on an online digital archive, get access to a Patreon exclusive Discord server where we share feedback, process, art tools, and tips, and more, you can become a Patreon subscriber for as little as $2 a month. There are higher tiers for additional rewards or just for higher support if you want to show some love. But for as little as $2 a month, gets you on there. It's patreon.com/GERIMI. If you would like to get a free digital sketchbook, get work in progress animated GIFs delivered right to your inbox, blog posts about what I'm reading, what I'm watching, what's inspiring me, you can sign up for my free monthly newsletter at newsletter.jeremy.net. And I've got a newsletter going out on Monday. I actually delayed it. Normally it goes on the first of the month, but I figure people aren't necessarily checking their email on the weekend just in case. So I'm gonna have that one going out Monday. So if you want to catch the latest issue, subscribe now if you're not subscribed. And if you'd like to purchase physical copies of my comic books, or if you read digitally on Comixology or Kindle, you can go to amazon.jeremy.net. They'll forward you to my Amazon author page. You can pick up books like my first graphic novel, Eye of the Gods. It is a psychological thriller about a man cursed with visions he cannot control. You can pick up my most recent project, Morning Star. It tells the story of Lucifer's fall from heaven as a Western. It's an 8-issue series. Volume 1 contains issues 1 through 4. Volume 2 contains issues 5 through 8. Both volumes have extensive back matter, character sketches, designs, thumbnails, page layouts, how I use photo reference, and more. Basically show you how I put the whole book together. And there are also book flip-throughs on the YouTube channel homepage. If you want to actually flip through the book, see it before you pick it up, you can head on over to YouTube and check that out. But today, we got a guest. Frequent commenter on the channel, good friend. My pal Amar is here. Amar, come on in, say hi. And by the way, we've got links to Amar's own YouTube channel as well, where he shares his animation process, his character design process, all of his fine artworks, and his Instagram. Both links in the description for this video on YouTube. So how you doing, Amar? Oh, you're muted. You're muted. There we go.
Hey, I probably had to turn off this fan. Let me turn off this fan because I live in a building. In my building, I probably should open the window.
Mm-hmm.
When it's a certain time, they turn off the air, so it's all heat now.
Dang.
I don't know if it's a age thing, but for some reason, as I gotten older, I just get hot, and I'm not a big person, but I just get hot for some reason. So I don't know why. I'm always warm. It's like I have menopause or something.
You know what? I mean, I've been somebody who ran hot my entire life, so it doesn't seem odd to me at all. But definitely, like, as I've gotten older now, I go from, like, I don't even sleep with a blanket anymore. I just sleep with a sheet on, and usually I just have the sheet just like around my midsection, like I'm getting a massage, and it's just like my chest gets too hot, my legs get too hot, like my feet have to be sticking out. And it's like I need a cool. Like I actually have a fan on as well, but what I do is I have the fan like it's actually just outside of this room, blowing cool air from the rest of the house into the room. Because for some reason, my studio is the hottest room in the house.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So,
but anyway, it's good to catch up. Normally we're chatting during the chats, but I figure I've been meaning to have you on just to, chop it up and go back and forth real time. Because a lot of times it's like we get into such deep conversations and you're so knowledgeable on a lot of different process and techniques and technologies. That's like, I can't even get to all of them in the chat. And I'm like, let's just talk, So
yeah, it's been a while. I know the last time I was on with your other buddies. I think it was another comic book artist and I was a writer. And it's been a while. We was talking about what we was planning on doing for that year. It was like last year. Time flying by so fast.
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you, for me, I honestly thought that I would have my newest comic written and would be deep into the first issue by now. and I'm still rewriting and rewriting it. And it's funny because I know one of the main things we're going to start off talking about was character design, and I have really not made much progress on my character designs because what I'm trying to do is really develop the personalities of the characters more in the writing. And I feel like I can't properly design their physicality on the outside until I have a good sense of the inside. Like I'll do some sketches here and there of some character designs. Like I may think of a costume detail, or I just want to try out a look for a character based on a scene that I might be working on in my outline. But until I really have the character's whole like journey mapped out, it's hard for me to design that because the character's personality has changed a lot as I'm rewriting the story. And I want those internal things to reflect the external.
Yeah, see, I haven't. I don't know if I ever tried that process. Usually, for me, it's either I have a dream, or I have a idea of a character, and then I sketch out the character, and then everything sort of revolves around that character, and then ideas start flourishing from that. I don't know. I think that's the majority of what my process has been, as far as that, and then I can build the whole story around that. So I don't know. It's probably the backwards way. I don't know. It's just that's the way I like doing this, because then I can look at the character and see if I can get inspiration from maybe wanting to do more with that character.
Well, speaking of a character, so the Medusa horse that I've been working on, I finally got this bad boy finished.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I actually
brighter red with the eyes than
yeah, I was trying to go for like where's the reference that I had dropped in here? The a couple of different images of like albino snakes.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to go for that coloring, but then at the last minute, I thought that as opposed to it just being stark, like white and gray, like the blue of the shadow, I mean, it makes sense for shadows to be a little bit cool anyway, but it really set off the red by going cool as opposed to just a neutral gray.
Yeah, it looks almost like a logo.
Well, it's funny because what I've been doing, I haven't done any drawing this weekend. I've been taking this up and adding text to it. I'm making one version that's for a t-shirt and then one version that's going to be for art prints. But I did one where when we were joking around the live stream and calling it Snakes on a Mane. So I've got one it's positioned similar to the logo for Snakes on a Plane, but it's just a Snakes on a Mane going underneath. And then I have a second one that's how I originally imagined it, which is just on that flat area at the bottom. It just says Medusa instead of Medusa, but it's like in a Greek style lettering. So I'm going to make prints and shirts of both of those. And you'll hear me talk about it again on the live stream because I'll at least give it a shout out when I have them available for links for people to buy. But I'm sort of like tightening up the typography and adjusting things and tweaking everything. But I switched over to the screen just so I could go over, and I got like I started organizing my iPad the same way I organize stuff on my computer. So I've got like my folder for just general illustrations. I've got my folders for particular comics that I'm working on, folders for like classes that I'm taking. So I've got a folder specifically for my Greek
stuff on there.
Huh?
Back it up.
Oh yeah. I back it up not daily, which I should do every day, but at least weekly. Let me see. But I started with some character designs. So the idea of the story is it's got like three main characters. It's got like Pandora herself. There's a centaur named Tara, and then there's Hope, which is the last thing that's in Pandora's box, which is a little girl. And I'm kind of like, I started with just trying to work on all of them on a grid. So it's not necessarily this. It's pretty similar to doing a lineup. I'm just using a full grid as opposed to just having the horizontal lines. But with this,
it's in the program, right? In Procreate.
Yeah. So I didn't do anything extra. And the nice thing with Procreate is that if I wanted it to be like a lineup where I've got like 10 characters on one line, you can just change the density of the grid. So you can make it so the squares get bigger or smaller if you want to have a bunch of characters on one line. Or, I mean, same difference. You just make the document bigger. Make the canvas size like twice as wide. But it's weird because I honestly feel like my I'm kind of in it in the sense of still figuring out things and making things up and not having a full-fledged character design process, because I tried doing character designs and turnarounds for some of the characters from Morningstar, and I still don't think that they came out as well as I'd like to. Like the characters, I'm not unhappy with how they look. I stand behind the work that I put out in the comic. But in terms of like when you look at like a cool art of book and how the character designs are done, I definitely didn't do like full turnarounds and expression sheets and really work out a lot of the characters' physicality. And so for this one, it's like I feel like I'm kind of starting from scratch, where it's like proportion and just getting a shape and a feel for them, which I don't think I've necessarily. I'm sort of just starting that phase out with the characters. And like I said, because the writing is changing, I haven't gone very deep in it. So right now, all the characters are really just mostly stick figures that I haven't done a lot of real development on yet.
Yeah, so that's what I know we were going to talk about today is a character design thing, because that seems to be when people are creating comics or animation or anything art related. It seems like if you can get to the point where you can design a character that's really strong, that you can see as far as the silhouette, for the color, almost like how with a logo, the branding. When people see that brand, they know it from the color, they know it from the symbols that you can see, or what we saw, or what they call shape language, and then so the silhouette. So if it's a strong silhouette, so like how you have here the horse and the lady, you can tell from the silhouette that's a feminine figure, and it's a like a centaur. So from that, the more you can accentuate or exaggerate and accentuate certain areas of that character, you can make it so that it's its own icon. So like when you look at it and you think of Superman, or you think of Batman, or you think of Woody Woodpecker, or you think of Mickey Mouse, or you think of certain characters, you can just know them from the silhouette. And regardless, and then if you was doing it in even different styles, just from the brand color and adding certain things into that particular character, you know that that's their character, regardless of what style it's done in. And then the character is designed well. So that's something that, for me, out of all of the years I've been creating characters from a kid to now, something I never really focus on. I always focus on the idea and the cool powers or abilities that I want to have for the character. I never really focused on the brand of the character. So I don't know if I can go back and look at some of the characters and see, based on the silhouettes, to know that that character is unique. And this whole exercise might take me back to doing the same thing with my other characters. So that way, when you do it, regardless of who sees it down the road, they can look at it and say, "Oh, that's such and such character." Now I don't even know if I can think of it, it's just the same way with Spawn, but I think with Spider-Man, you can almost tell from his silhouette that it's him. So,
Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man. I mean, that's another thing. When you look at like a lot of Marvel characters, that the Spider-Man, Hulk, Thor, Captain America, like Captain America and Thor both have wings on their helmets. But Cap's helmet is, well, sometimes it's just the simple, skull tight, and it's just coming out of his head. Sometimes he's got a soldier's helmet, depending on which version of Captain America, what costume he's wearing. Whereas Thor, completely different helmet. He's got like that big, Viking style, like big metal helmet. Which, by the way, I see King's Low Fitness in the chat. How you doing, man? Thanks for showing up. He's digging this, the graphic design concept, which, yeah, I think that's definitely a great way to look at it. With like I've seen things, and there were like videos that we were sharing back and forth about character design, And like when you look at the Pokemon and how you can see a lot of their, like all the characters having a distinct silhouette, that actually is something that's been helping me in terms of both my writing and drawing and trying to fuse them, the character design. Because I don't know if this is something that you think about necessarily in your character design, but for me, when I'm developing the characters, another thing that I have not done in the past, and I'm trying to do with this new comic, is I'm not just trying to design the basic character, like here's their costume, that's it, move on. But in the way that Pokemons evolve, I'm thinking about how the character's journey is, like how their personality changes over the course of their journey, the skills that they grow and develop, how their attitude changes, and maybe weapons that they have in the end of the story that they didn't have in the beginning. So I'm thinking of them kind of in the similar way that when you look at Pokemons, you can see their distinct silhouette. You also see how you can have the Pokemon evolution. We've got the original Pokemon, the next evolution, and then their final evolution. And I'm starting to. I haven't done character designs just expressly on this. This is more of me talking about things that I'm going to try to implement moving forward. But the idea of the character going through their beginning, how they are at the beginning of the journey, how they are in their mid story, and how they're going to be different at the end, and trying to incorporate that into the character design as well as the writing.
Yeah, I like the drawings I've been seeing you do on the live streams where you just do the silhouette. That's something that I never really done a lot of,
Mm-hmm.
and I know certain animators animate in silhouette, and I think also if you have a strong character design as far as comics, when you're doing comics and probably animation, you can get away with not drawing all the details if the silhouette is strong, especially for certain scenes where you just want to show action or movement and not really add a lot of details into the character.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, I know that the '90s X-Men cartoon, I loved that cartoon. Like, I think a lot of people did. But one of the things I noticed was that that cartoon, they were, I think, taking a lot of cues off of the Jim Lee era of X-Men, and Jim Lee's are is super detailed, but it's really challenging to strip down that animation, because the more detailed, honestly, the more detailed some animation is, it's like this stuff just looks like squiggly lines because there's too many things moving. And I think during the first season of that cartoon, like in the early episodes, I think it took them a little while to find that balance, because I think it was definitely more detailed than most animation, but it took them a while to find a balance where it felt more detailed, but it was still animation that didn't get muddy. So that's another interesting thing. Like in terms of just having the silhouettes being super simple, it's like, yeah, the less you have that you're looking at, the more streamlined it is. Like, let's see here. King's Love Fitness also mentioned, Reese said that I mentioned Pokemon. He said he thought about My Hero Academia as the series evolves. Now, I know that it's a very popular anime and a cartoon and a comic. I haven't watched or read any of it yet. Have you checked out any of My Hero Academia, Amar?
No, a lot of that stuff is out of my point of view as far as like I'm more of a 80s and some 90s anime. I think the only one that's recently I watched is the Baki series. It was one like a Thor anime. It was based on the Greek gods. No, not the Greek gods, the Norse gods.
Mm-hmm.
The anime, I can't remember the name of it now. And it was another one that I based this on. I can't remember the name of it now. Hold on a second. I think it's another fighting series. One second, let me get the name. But and then One Punch. Those are the only ones that's mostly recently that I watched, but not a lot of the newer stuff.
Mm-hmm.
None of the Pokemon, none of the Dragon Ball Z, a lot of that stuff. I know Dragon Ball Z came out, I think in the 90s. I wasn't really into it.
Yeah, you see, that's the funny thing about Dragon Ball. Like, I remember watching it. I was actually taking a class on like animation basics. There's a high school in Southern California that actually has a class that it's one of those after school programs, but it's open to both high school students and adults, where they teach the fundamentals of animation. And I remember at the time we were doing that, we were watching Dragon Ball Z like in class, watching episodes and breaking them down. Because it's like you'd get maybe like, 5 minutes of plot in one episode. You'd get 10 minutes of actual action, and then you'd get like 10 minutes of people powering up to fight. And it's like I enjoyed it, but a lot of it was just like,
yeah.
It was kind of funny, but at the same time I dug it. It's weird, but that's what. That's only the episodes that I saw, because I certainly have not watched the entire series. I know they've done more than one Dragon Ball series, so that might sound like I'm throwing shade. And it wouldn't be fair for me to throw shade without actually sitting down and watching all, like, however many. I know there's like 100-something episodes in the first series. So
yeah, so it's called Baki Hanma and Kengan Ashura. Those are the two. They're both basically like combat type animes.
mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just it's been harder to get into. They call it Sakura. I've been looking at a lot of people that I know that animates, and a lot of them animates in that Sakura animation style. It's really hard for my brain to process. So I'm trying to figure out if that's something I'm going to do, or I'm just going to pursue the Disney route. I know the Disney route for a lot of people is real boring. But for me, I want to learn how to animate well first before I start experimenting, because the Baki or the Sakura stuff, when you look at the videos on YouTube, it's so much going on. The camera angles is it's like all over the place, and there's lines everywhere, and there's explosions and stuff moving. I'm like, man, I can't understand what's going on. So I know a lot of the younger people, when they see it, they really like it, and it's really exciting for them. But I can't understand the story when I see it. So maybe it has something to do with age, but I just can't. I can't figure it out just yet. But I mean, I guess it's all part of the world we in. When you look at it, Baki and some of the other ones are not as dramatic with it. But a lot of times, like if I was to throw a punch, and if I was doing it in Disney style, it would just show me winding up. And it'll show my my anticipation, my face changing, and then probably me following through, and then having the when the punch, just the overshoot of the punch, and then me settling in and coming back, and it'll just show that. It may just show like maybe a couple camera angles, or maybe rotate. But when they do a punch and the Sakura stuff, it's like part of the Dragon Ball Z, they wind it up and they showing all these action lines and everything moving around, and it's like the whole world is spinning. And it's like, wait a minute, what's going on? Is he throwing a punch, or what's going on? It's just so much going on. It's busy, and I'm just trying to figure out how do they, when you animate this stuff, how you see all that stuff beforehand in order for you to animate it.
Mm-hmm. But well, it was funny. I remember one time there was, another member of our Patreon, our Discord group, Negro Rosetta, when we were talking about, because I know he's a big Naruto fan, and I remember like when I told him like, why don't you just take one of them animated GIFs and just do the same way you would do a master study of an illustration. Just because, if it's 1 second of animation, it's 24 frames. Just do a message to them 24 frames. He was like, oh, snap. The idea of actually just studying the movement of an existing animation, like in stick figure. And I mean, honestly, if I had probably had those things in mind when I was in my 20s, I might have stuck with animation more, because I used to do a little bit of animation. And then after I made a couple of short films, I was like, I think I'm going to go back to making comics. But I think that being able to study, having a clear sense of how to study the form was something like that. Like just someone saying, if you want to do a master study of animation, here's a way to do it. That's something I think is one of the more challenging things, is just having the tools to even figure out how to dissect the process.
Yeah, I understand. I'll probably end up doing something like that for the Sakura thing, in order to get a better idea of it. Do exactly what you said. I might even do a rotoscope thing where I just draw right over it, and just to get an idea of it and do a few of those. Uh,
Hmm.
I was doing that with some Glenn King, and I was going to do it with some Milk Card to get back to that for our studies, as far as the animation. But I probably end up focusing on that because the new project that I'm working on is going to be it's going to be anime. So I'm trying to teach myself how to draw anime now, and the characters that I've been sharing on your Discord,
Hmm.
uh, they are based on that new project, and I've been really trying to focus on the character design. I think it's coming along. I still call it the rough stage, even though I'm like 3 weeks in. I'm trying
Hmm.
to take my time with it because I feel like I come up with so many ideas, but I don't spend a lot of time on ideas. It's like almost like assembly line ideas, even though I'm not producing them. Um, I do create them. I'm cooking in the background, so I think I should be fine for at least another half hour.
No
Um,
worries. If you need to jump up and take care of something, I can keep it going. And we're yeah, like I said, we usually only go an hour anyway. Um, well, I remember one of the things that you shared in the Discord was that discussion that the BAM animators had in terms of their process for character design and what made good character design. And literally, as I'm watching it, I'm just like nodding my head, like, yup, 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 yup. Like, I mean, everything that they were talking about is all like I didn't have boo to say. Like, I was like, this is all the stuff that I try to think about. And one of the things, like, just start off with shape language about doing things that are either square, triangular, or round. And with square being strong, triangular being sharp or aggressive, and then round being happy or friendly or bubbly. Like, I just started doodling around the idea that, I mean, the way that I love thumbnailing, I'm thinking, all right, I don't even know yet whether I want, even though I know that the feel of the particular character, the um the little girl that's in my story, I wanted to explore, well, what would it look like if her personality was, if her shape language was triangular versus rectangular versus round. And so I started with just saying, all right, well, what if I'm doing stick figures? I'm like, well, are there different, how do I, if I'm doing it with stick figures, what are the different ways to do her as square? What are the different ways to do her as triangular? So I'm even just starting with, on this basic level, just doing variations of the stick figures. And I look at this is almost like, the idea of mind mapping or word mapping, where you just start with like a single idea and you come up with another idea that relates to it and then another idea that relates to that. Like, have you ever seen people doing that for like brainstorming?
yes, I am.
Like, for that kind of thing, I almost feel like this, what I'm sketching out here is just me taking like the fundamental idea and saying, well, what do these different variations look like? Now, first off, none of these look like a little girl anyway. These all look like I'm doing variations of like Hulk designs. But the idea is for me to just, what I'm trying to do is just sketch out variations of that basic premise, sketching out variations of different proportions and seeing if any of these jump out with the square body type, and then seeing if any of them jump out with the doing the same thing with the triangular and the round body types, just seeing if I get something that says, oh, wait, this speaks to the character.
So I have a question I wanted to share with your audience, and then maybe get some feedback. Maybe they can provide some insight. Now, like I told you, I'm working on this animation project that I am going to not say any other kind of words. I'm going to work on this, and it's going to get done. That's going to be the energy, not that I started and stop it. That's going to be the focus. So I've been spending like 3 weeks. Almost this is the third week going into it now, working on this, and I'm trying to get the characters really solid. I think they're good at the rough stage they're at now, as far as the silhouette. I'm working on the extreme versions of it, and I'm trying to round them out. So I'll just give you a little backstory on. I don't want to get too far deep into it, but basically it's going to be similar to the I pasted in the chat. So it's going to be basically similar to. We got two new people too, Martin and Claire. So let me go here.
Oh yeah, hey Martin, I saw you in there. I threw one of those up on the screen real quick. But I didn't get a chance to give you a shout out. See, when Amar and I get going, we just go in deep. So if I miss stuff in the chat, guys, you'll have to excuse us. But it's like, get a chance to chop it up with one of my favorite boys. And Claire, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, so the idea is I like Baki and I like Kenyan as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to get that kind of vibe, and they had sort of like I would say a sort of ethnic feel, but I've never seen nothing done with the indigenous characters from different islands and different parts of the world. So I was like, why haven't nobody did a anime with indigenous characters from different parts of the world using indigenous martial art styles? So it's going to require some research to try to find some videos on YouTube or some other videos elsewhere on it of how the fight style will be. I've been working with the Kino Keone. That's one of the main characters, and he has a style called Lima Lama. It's an interesting style. So I'm trying to watch videos on that, and then it's various other styles that I've never heard of, but they're still similar because even though they're different martial arts, they're similar. It's just the application is different. So I think that from that, it's going to be an educational experience, but then also if I can just get these characters to the point where I want them to, and then work on the animation. At least get the, I would say, if not before the end of the year is out, the very beginning of next year, like a promo video to show like the animation, maybe even use it to help generate interest, and then move from there and work on like the stories. I'm gonna be working on the stories at some point this month, and then next month. But we're only like 3 months away before the end of the year, so that's gonna go really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, I wanted to share like some of the stuff I've been working on, and if people have any feedback.
Please go ahead. Let me go ahead and just share screen, and I'll see if there's anything I have to do on my end. But I think you can just share it, and it'll go on. I think.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
All right, so I'm going to run through this real quick. This is some of the characters. I shared it on Discord.
Wait, hang on just a sec. I'm going to pull it out and then put it back on again because for some reason on my screen, whenever I share a screen, it goes black for a minute. So, all right, now I can see it.
Yeah, okay, cool. So I've been doodling. I was doodling some ideas on my tablet of how I want the body structures to look. And then this, by the way, this is the first character. His name is Magat. And he uses, let me go here and minimize some of this stuff. He uses a style called Kalaripatu. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's a really old fighting style. So this is the initial design, and then I worked with them. I know it's a little faded here. And then I did some little doodles here of the character. Then I roughed them out some, and these ideas I was working with. And then I had some more ideas where I was simplifying the character because it's going to be animated, so I got to simplify it. I kind of like this one here, this third one, and this fourth one, or this first one here. And then I also did like the silhouettes. So this is the first one. I know I'm running through them pretty fast. I'm going to come back to it. I just want to not take up a lot of time working on showing this. So then this is the other character called Rahat. And this is there's 5 main characters. Well, I won't call them main characters, but 5 characters that I'm starting out with. So like how the original Street Fighter started out. So this is the the other character, we started out like this. This is like the doodle that I did. And then I have here like the different ideas. I can zoom in more on it if you want me to, if anybody wants me to. So this is the roughs, and then this is the shadows. And I also did like some poses with these. I'm not gonna go into that. I just want to show you silhouettes. That's the second character.
By the way, real quick, I just want to give a mention. So Claire had asked that this sounds cool. She asked if you'll be posting more on your channel, or do you have a Twitter we should check out? And Claire, just so you know, in the description for this video, there should be a link both to Amar's YouTube channel and to his Instagram, so you can follow him on both of those. But I'd say the YouTube channel is probably more where you're going to be sharing this process mostly, right?
Yes, because I already did a couple videos on it, and for the stuff I'm not doing in real time on the live stream, I'm also sharing it like a update, so like what I'm doing now. So this character started out as a doodle as well for the third character. This is the third character I created, and then you know what? I didn't say what background this character was. Rahat is a Moor. I don't know if you ever heard of the race of people called Moor, but he's a Moor. And
Moor
Kahu
or Maori?
Moor, like
Moor. Oh,
Moor.
like Morgan Freeman and Robin Hood.
No, like Moor, like Moor.
No, that's more like Morgan. Have you seen the Morgan Freeman, the Kevin Costner Robin Hood? The black
no, I
that
never
are
saw it. He was a Moor. Oh, okay, I know that.
Yeah,
He's a Moor. So that character was a Moor, and they have. I didn't really find any fighting styles on there, but they use a variety of fighting styles. And then this is Kahua, and he uses Black Fist Dua. And this is like some designs that I did based on. So it kind of migrated from this design to this design. And then he has like the tribal tattoo and some cool designs on his shorts. And he wears a man bun. So that's Kings of Fitness, historical more. And this is the pretty boy character here called Keone. Let me go here and this was his initial sketch. I'll just drag this over. So I don't know if you ever see like in a lot of animes the effeminate character.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be more of that character. He uses the style that I was talking about earlier, Lima Lama. So there's a lot of dance involved in that style.
Like a capoeira type thing?
It's sort of like a ceremonial dance, but then they also have different other styles that's mixed in with that. It looked kind of cool when I saw it on YouTube, what they were doing. It was a mix of different styles, and they also use weapons. So I was thinking combining the weapons with the fighting style instead of actually showing physical weapons. So this is the like a iteration draft of the character, and then I did some poses of the character here. Oh no, that's not what I want to show. I want to show the roughs. So these are the roughs, and please let me know if you need me to slow it down or zoom in or whatever. So this is the character here. You got some cool little designs on his pants, and he has these poses here.
I see Trevor's in the chat, getting ready to head to work. Thanks for popping in, Trevor.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Trevor. Yeah, so this is his silhouette here. So I think out of most of these so far, his may be a little bit easier or stronger just based on this style, as you can see, as far as the silhouettes. And then we got this last one here. And let's go to his initial sketch. Let me hide these. Okay, I got something weird going on here. Sometimes I select layers and then I'm not going to show that. So this is the way it originally looked, the original doodle. And then I did this. And by the way, he's Taiwanese. And all these are like we call it Aboriginal characters. So this is his look here, and then I did a rough of it. And I thought, well, that would be kind of hell to animate with all of that going on. And his funny thing is, when I was drawing his beard, ended up looking like leaves. So that's going to make it look even more, I would say, island-like. So this is this character, and he uses what's this, Carita? No, sorry, Carita. Sorry about that. And, and this is his silhouette. No, wait a minute. Okay, I did something. Okay, it looks like I selected something with these because I can see now the
I like that
silhouettes.
slice you did on the arms. That like it feels like he's got like bands on his arms, but it's a cool cut. I love that
Yeah,
effect.
I didn't try to do that. I think, oh, I know what I did. I had fixed it because his arms were too short. And I think I select, sometimes when you select, you can actually select the whole layer and then make a selection and move it. And I think I had that selected. And what happens is whatever is still visible, it cuts through that as well. That's a cool thing about Clip Studio. You can select and edit multiple layers at the same time, but you have to be careful. I think I wasn't paying attention. So I'm going to go to the extreme versions of this so you can see it in the lineup. And I did like the extreme version of these, which you can see the silhouettes
Mhm.
lot better. So here I had to actually modify it a little bit because if I show you the lineup, one second. So I did a lineup where, one second. No, I'm not going to get into that because I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. But I did a lineup where the characters was a little bit different here,
Mhm.
and I I looked at it and I was like, okay, say when you're doing character design that the characters should not line up; they should stagger.
Mhm.
So that's what I had to do.
Well,
Oh, okay, yeah, thanks, King of Fitness. Yeah, so yeah, this now you can see that they're staggered. And I had to actually exaggerate a little bit because the heights I had on them were too close to one another, and it did exaggerate their physical. So now I kind of simplified these. It looks a little weird based on the original design. But I'm going to go back from the simplification and add back detail. But I don't want to add too much because it's got to be animated as well. So this is basically where I'm at, what I share with you guys. If you have anything you want to add based on what you saw, if the characters look like they are kind of uniquely designed, if you can actually get an idea of who's who. I know I'm kind of like brushing through this really quickly, and I'll go like in more detail, like Jeremy said on my own channel. But I just want to share this. This is what I've been working on in the past couple weeks. So now going into the third week. So if you have any feedback, let me know, Jeremy, because I've been sharing this with you and people on your Discord as well.
well, I mean, first off, I think you went through it at a perfect speed because considering how much you covered a lot in a very quick pace. Um, the first thing I was going to ask is, are there going to be any female characters in this story?
Well, that's yeah. I didn't even think about that at this particular point. I know that that probably is something that has come up. So let me go over here. I didn't share this, but I'm gonna share this anyway. I have five more, well, six more characters here. So there is a window, and I also highlighted like what race or background they come from. Like I have one from the Daimbe uh, style called Daimbe for the people that's African. I think it's the tribe is called House. And then I got a Cambodian style. I think it's Burmese. And then we got Plains Cree, which is I think it's North American. It's an Indian tribe. Haiti, and then also got Nordic Iceland. So I can make at least two characters here from that area, and it can be women if need be. But like in most of those fighting series in Baki, and in the one I just mentioned that I posted earlier, and Kingen, there are no women fighters. Which is, I know you're gonna say, well, that's weird, but there are no women fighters in those either. They're all male dominated animes. And I do have female characters in the anime, but they're not fighting. So
Well, I
I'm
mean, it's a matter of personal choice. If your story does not actually have female combatants, I mean, in actual martial arts, you've got women MMA fighters and men MMA fighters. They don't fight cross gender. They usually will have people separated by male and female. So it's not if the premise, the structure of the story is a fighting tournament, then it makes sense to not necessarily have females in there. But if you also, you went back to mentioning Street Fighter, that's what actually got me thinking about it. Like when you got Cammy, you got Chun-Li, you got all these other dope female characters. That's one way right there to inject a character that's definitely going to stand out from the pack.
Yeah, I do plan on adding more characters, and there's a window for that. And I do have an interesting way. Instead of, like, a lot of times in a lot of these stories they have chi, they use chi, but instead of using chi here, I want to use like a combination of their belief system and their ancestor. So they generate power from either like the dark part or the light part of their ancestry, and along with the tribal gear or tattoos they have, it's sort of like it gives them more power. So it's like almost as if with some um, indigenous or aboriginal people, they call to the power of their ancestors to give them more strength. That's what's going to happen in some of these fights. But the thing is, I haven't thought about any female characters because most of the indigenous fighting styles is a little bit more, I won't say barbaric, but they could be a little bit more barbaric. Okay, shorter videos to describe your vision. Yeah, I'm gonna try to work on that. King of Fitness. Right now, I'm just trying to get all of the characters solidified to the point where you can tell who they are, and that's what these whole silhouettes are for. But in all, you have 8 characters. Not 8 characters. You have 11 characters. But for this first one, I just want to do 5, and then from that, they can have background characters, but the story is going to revolve around those characters. So that's the idea. I don't know if anybody had any feedback on the characters themselves, but if you do, throw it in the chat.
It was funny because in watching that, right, just in those last couple ones you showed there, like I was thinking you went back and you did a pass specifically to vary up the proportions a little bit more. But I was almost thinking, hang on, let me flip to my screen here. Okay. Add this back in. So when you've got the two larger guys, hang on, I gotta do this. Yeah, there we go. And for some reason, it's not letting me paste in the silhouette that you had. All right, never mind. Anyway.
Yeah, it should be like a Discord too. You should be able to get it from the Discord if you.
Wait, you know what? Let me. I think what I have to do is actually.
You might be able to copy and paste it there. From there, it might be easier.
Well, I tried copy and pasting directly from here, and that didn't work. So what I'm going to do instead is just save it to my computer, save it to my tablet, and
Yeah, so the thing I didn't do that I wanted to also cover, if we can, during this session, if you have time,
Sure.
is the shape language. I think from this, I can grab the solid shape language. I haven't gotten into color yet. If
Hmm.
I get solid shape language from the last character and the middle character, you can definitely see what they kind of form. The second and fourth character, they can be a little general, but I can play a little bit more with their hair. I think the second character, you can identify him more so with the hair. Same thing with the first character, can be kind of general. So I got to figure out outside of the mustache and the eyebrows, what will make him even more unique.
Well, the first thing that I was thinking is that I because this is one of the things I remember from, even though I've never worked, full time in animation. When I took animation classes in college, one of the things that they really tried to push on us was that, not push on us, but one of the things they encouraged was, no matter how much you think you're pushing the characters, you can go farther. And I think, like, what is the name of this taller one again?
Which
Just
one?
the last one in the lineup.
Last one is Panit.
And it.
They have interesting names, which I'm thinking I may have to shorten because, but people if they like it, they'll get into the characters' names. So you have Magat, which is the first character, Razhat, the second character, Kaua
Is it Razette with a Z?
is Rahat. That's the
Oh,
second.
Rahet. Oh, Rahet.
Yeah, and then Kahua and Keone, that's the pretty boy, and Panit, that's the last one.
I think I butchered Keone's spelling. Keoni.
Keoi. Let me just copy and paste it. I copy and paste them.
Okay,
Again,
there we go.
uh, I mean, perfect spelling doesn't matter, but the key goal is I want each character, and I know that's something that I don't know a lot of people don't focus on when they're doing their characters for anime, but the old school and some of the new school characters, you can look at them and tell right away that that's that character. I think out of all of these, the ones that's probably stand out the most is the last character and maybe the second character, maybe the third character too. But I don't know. That's why I was trying to get an opinion from the audience as well, what they what they see. So I think the third character, based on the original drawings that these are more exaggerated
Hmm.
than look at the other ones. They're more exaggerated than the first one
Well,
when I showed you the drawings. But I know I can push it more. So I don't know how far I can push it, but you know, I want to push it too far where it's like it's not even in the whole realm of the character that I would want to actually animate. Because I still wanted to have something that I can actually convert these into looking like something that you see in an anime. Right now, I don't think they're there yet, but I can work on the style more to get it more in the anime feel. But I want to also have them simplified, but have some detail to the point where when they're animated or when you see the character in their regular state, you can almost add a little bit more detail and even add them to comics. Like I don't like the way his arms look here, but I was trying to simplify it. I like the way his arms look more than this guy's.
well, the thing that I noticed is that you've kind of got two big guys, and you've got two athletic guys, and then one skinny guy. And so the first thing I was thinking is, how do you really make the two big guys stand out? And for me, I'm thinking if you were to compare, I'm still gonna butcher his name again, but it's Kaua, the third guy. If you were to stand him instead of being on the line, if you were to put them like literally side by side, what if Panette is actually like even more massive? So that like if you were to compare them, like as opposed to just being like a head taller, you've got Kaua being you just draw a square. Stop messing around. Like he's somebody who like you already have a character who looks like the Incredible Hulk, but you put him next to another guy and maybe making Panette like almost like when I was doing those John Byrne studies and I was drawing the Blob. Like, what if Panette is just like massive, like feeling more like if you look at the Incredible Hulk is, you know, he's big, but he's muscular big.
So that's why I tried to make him wider, because the thing is, if I make him taller, then he's going to end up being the wider I make him. I mean, the taller I make him, he's going to end up being taller than this guy. And since I increased his height, he was 6'9", and now he's over 7 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing.
Well, this gets into your personal creative choices, but does it matter if the proportions, if the actual heights are larger than is realistically possible, since it is a cartoon?
So you're saying, I'm going to just do this hypothetically. I'm just going to stretch it and then make them bigger. So you're saying...
Oh, wait, do you want me to switch over to your screen?
It's up to you.
Here, let me...
So I'm just trying to move them side by side, like you said. So now I made them bigger, wider,
mm-hmm.
and I moved them over.
I would also make him. I would make him even taller. Like I would make it so that the bottom of his head is at the top of Kahua's head. Like add him another like a whole nother head taller.
So he's like almost. It would be almost like 8 feet over 8 feet tall.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And even though it's not his actual height, you saying just do that as the design, or that's his actual height?
Here's the thing. You know how you said you don't want to go too far? What I say is you should push it let me this way. The only way to know what too far is to push it too far. I think you should say, well, what if he is an 8 foot tall character? And then if you look at it in your world and you're like, nah, it bothers me. It messes with the world. Then you bring it back down. But I say push it too far and then see if you really want to walk it back. Or if you look at it and you're like, nah, there's an 8 foot tall dude in my world and I need this. So because there's what I think in terms of opinion of just varying it up. And then there's what you actually feel comfortable with as a creator. Because when I always try to think of whenever I'm giving somebody feedback, I try to think of it like, I know what I like, but I have to keep in mind, like a good producer doesn't make all the artists, all albums sound the same. They try to say, well, what does the person want and how to get the most of their voice more out there. So I would say definitely make him, even bigger than taller. But if it gets to the point where you just don't feel comfortable with it, like it just breaks the reality that you want, then it does make sense to pull it back. But I would say, given that this is not a live action movie, it is completely reasonable for you to have an 8 foot tall figure next to the next biggest guy who is 7 foot tall.
Okay. So I'll leave that in there as one of the ideas, because I still got the original. So go ahead.
Well, the other thing I was going to say is, again, when you talk about varying stuff up, that whole idea of big, medium, small, you've got 2 big guys in Kahua and Panette. Then you've got two athletic guys in terms of Magat and Keone. Rahat is skinny, but he's not small. What I would say is Keone and Magat, they both have similar builds. It's just one is older and grizzled, and the other is young and pretty boy. What I would consider is maybe making Magat short, maybe making him like Wolverine size, making him like 5'3", 5'5". Knock him down, because then you immediately take him out of you give him a body type that is not as skinny as Rahet, but also not as tall as Keone. So you immediately have made him distinctly different from the two smaller characters.
All right, so I'm just scaling him down just based on what you're saying. He's still stocky, but all right. So this is the other size, and that was his size, and I have a couple other poses with him, the pretty boy. Let me just hide this real quick. So he's full of himself, so a lot of his poses will probably be that way.
And here's a thought, because this is me giving the flip-flopping the exact advice. Is I definitely think that there needs to be a physical difference between Keone and Magat in terms of like their height and size. It's up in the air in terms of which one should be shorter, because you could also keep Magat as the taller one and make Keone short and make a joke about the fact that he's a pretty boy, but he's got a little bit of a Napoleon complex, like Prince. Prince is a beautiful man, rest in peace. But he's not. He's tall in spirit, but he's a diminutive physically. You could also use that with Keone, and you could almost go that way and work that into the writing, where his stature is kind of like, you think he's got a little bit of a Napoleon complex, but he's so badass that you're like, oh no, he's a little man, but he throws down. So you can go both ways with it. You could make Magat the shorter one, or you could make Keone the shorter one, and both of those are going to change the story. And it's a matter of which one fits with what you feel the story needs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is just my thinking. I was thinking more Magat and Keone is sort of like masters. So usually with the masters, they have like a certain look, and they're either like the pretty guys or the old and grizzled guys in anime. So maybe it's a cliche sort of thing, but I was thinking, okay, you got the pretty boy who's all jacked, and he's in the anime, he's the one that looks beautiful, and he has the more dancey but high impact style where he does a lot of dance moves, but when he hits you, the moves are real damaging. And then the old grizzled guy, he when you look at him, he has one eye missing, like from all the fighting that he did. So when you look at his eye, he has one eye closed. And if you look at the original drawing, let me pull up that one. This one might be closer to. Yeah, you can see that he has one eye closed, and that's from fighting. And I actually used Sagat as the he was the inspiration for this character. So, or some people may say Sagat. So he actually has wristbands, knee, ankle bands, and foot bands, and he has his eye is closed, and I think he's going to end up having some tattoos. But so that was like the other version of him before I did the other one. So,
as I'm looking at that character, I was thinking about the fact that eye patches are kind of like, you don't want to fall into too much of a cliche. And then if you give him a cyborg eye, he might look feel a little bit like Cable. Instead, what you could do is, instead of giving him scars around the eye, you can just have where his eye is closed, he just has one horizontal scar. like the lid that comes down, like almost like maybe it's just scarred over. He's just got like a scar running over the pupil, like the empty, like the skin coming down over the empty eye socket.
Yeah, I think about that because I don't want to. If I put the scar over it, it'll be like Saget. So I
Yeah.
think about it, if I do, his eyes maybe like when somebody get injured, it heals up and it forms a keloid. Maybe do something like that over the eye where it forms that. But yeah, that's his character. So I wanted him to be kind of like more like Rock. When you think of him, he's more like Rock. And his style, he has the oldest style out of all of them. So his style, I don't know if it's this one, but it's one of the styles. They have like over 10,000 moves. So might be the one that style that he uses. Yeah, I think it is the style that he uses. That has over 10,000 moves.
Yeah, King's Low Fitness says, maybe a head size bigger. That's another thing that you could do with differentiating Keone and McGadis. Maybe giving one a big head, versus, normally when you want someone who feels athletic, you give them a smaller head so their body feels bigger. You could even give somebody a bigger head. And yeah, he mentions the thing about having a shorter character, like Krillin from Dragon Ball Z. He mentioned that part too. So, I mean, when I see it, I feel like you already went through and buried them up. And I'm looking at how much you buried them, and I'm saying you can run you haven't broken them yet. So I'm saying you can push the proportions and the differences in their physicality even more. And
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I'm just repeating myself, but just the idea of the way to know how far is too far is to push them until they break and then take a step back. So if there's any things you're thinking about to stick, like for instance, like when I did the little, let me flip back to my screen here. When I did this little the doodle of this spherical version, I don't know why it's not letting me see.
I'm gonna turn my camera off for a second because I gotta go run check my chili. I'm cooking in the back because I'm smelling it. Give me
go
2 seconds.
Go ahead and do that. I'll vamp, but I do have to figure out why my there we go. For some reason, too many screens, too much stuff going on. I keep sticking my head down to blow my nose here. Apologies, super gross. Very unprofessional for our live stream. But yeah, this was something that even
okay, I'm back. I'm back. I know what it is now. It's because I have 3 pots cooking in the background, and that heat from that is simmering into the living room because the kitchen is in another room right around the corner. So it's the heat from that. I have like a big pot like this big, cooking it in 2 smaller pots, probably like what do you call them? I don't know, whatever, quart size parts, whatever. When I usually cook, I cook a lot, and it usually lasts for like a month, maybe a little bit longer. So I'm cooking 8 pounds of beans.
Damn,
Cook a lot. So I know it's just me, but I don't like cooking every day. So I'll package it up, put it in the freezer, and then every week pull one out.
You got fresh made frozen, homemade frozen dinners. You just bring it out. That's you do the same thing in my house. I feel you. Well, I mean, we can start winding things down here because I know usually we're already past an hour, so we're pretty much at the time for wrapping it up. But the thing I was going to mention was when I made this kind of more rounded Panette character, like one of the things I started doing was I was intentionally saying you gave him like, a bun. I mean, other characters have the man bun as well, but you gave him a man bun and a beard. And I was thinking, well, what would happen if you really exaggerated the man bun and the beard, where the beard almost becomes like his clothing. Like the beard is so big, it's covering like the whole upper half of his chest. And then the man bun also going big and coming across his back. And this is just an example of what I was saying is you can take every single the only thing I see, like if you were saying just asking for feedback from everybody in general, was just you have all of these features that distinguish your characters. Like you've already made them distinct, but what I feel like it needs is more seasoning in the sense of like taking the man buns and the beard and pushing it. If you've got a character that has bands on his arms, then it's like you don't want to add more bands because you're also thinking about the fact that you're going to animate them and you don't want to have to animate tons of rings. But it's a matter of like, how can I take what I already have and exaggerate them? And I think that for every single character, like their distinct features, like for instance, you could give Keone, well, now longer hair again becomes a pain in the ass to animate. So that's you're gonna have that balance of what's you want to exaggerate stuff that'll make them more distinct, but at the same time you're like you don't want to make it a pain in the ass for you to animate. But for instance, this beard, because it's kind of a singular shape, you could that's one example of one place where you could take the features of
his beard. When you look at it, it forms his beard and his head.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at it all together, it forms like a diamond.
Yes.
Look at the shape; it forms a diamond. So you have like the top part is a little bit narrower, and it goes up, and then you have the bottom part that's kind of wide at the bottom. So it forms like a diamond, and the rest of his body is sort of like a big oval type shape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm saying is for each of these characters, you can take one of their features and say, all right, like you can make the beard oversized. I mean, on this version, like the fact of the matter is that Panette, you gave him really big feet, bigger than all the other characters. This one, I thought it would be kind of funny to make his body super huge, but give him smaller feet. You could take a different character and give another character the big shoes. Or maybe you give Keone like platform heel, like whichever character you make small, you can give him like platform heels, like platform boots, like Prince would wear again, because it's like he's small, so maybe he's gonna have some platform boots, but he'll still be whooping your ass with some platform boots. Like all of the features you already have, you can push them farther, and those are the things that really make you distinct.
Yeah, I work on that. The thing is since they're Aboriginal, a lot of the characters, a lot of them probably wouldn't even have on shoes. But yeah, I get your point. I'll work on those things. But yeah, if anybody else have anything else to add, just let me know. I just hopefully you guys. Thanks for having me, Jeremy. I like these sessions. I would have liked to talk more about the character design stuff. I think we talked about some of it, touched on some of it. If anybody else have anything else to add, hopefully it's helpful. But the thing I think we focus on when you get a chance to talk about color, because that wasn't really important here, but it's the shapes that the characters make, and then also the silhouettes. I think those are the two most important things that we focused on in this session.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm definitely gonna make sure that's not gonna be another year before the next time we have you on, so we can come back, sometime a few weeks down the line, maybe sometime next month, and we can chop it up about color instead. And mind you, I always tell people, there's a reason why I work mostly in black and white. I do know how to use color, but I use it like a child with a flamethrower. So I can get the effect that I want, but I don't think that it's not the thing that I am the most informed on, but I will definitely, I can voice my opinion and I can voice the sources that I look to inspire me in color, but I'm by no means a color expert.
Yeah, I'm gonna try those things though. Play around with the feet sizing and exaggerate some of the features to see how I can exaggerate those things in the silhouette more. That's going to be this phase of it, and then once I've done that, then I go into the comp stage and round out the actual characters before I start doing their character sheets. So I really want these to be solid, and then I think it's going to really help me in the future when I'm doing the comic book and other stuff.
Yeah. Things will fitness also throughout, possibly having another set of clothing for the character, showing the other side or the worldly lifestyle perspective versus their culture. So almost like you might have like what they're wearing in the ring in combat, and then what they're wearing when they go out for this victory celebration later. They might not have their flossing gear. They got the combat gear, than maybe their formal wear or what have you. Like whatever it is, that there's a possibility of exploring. I think that's another animation thing. That's one of those things where on a storytelling in a film, that's something to put in. But of course, with animation, you're thinking every new costume design is a whole new character design. It might be something interesting to explore in sketches, but it's a matter of whether you're like, do I really want to animate this existing character in a whole other costume? That I know for me, when I hear that note and I think that is a good note. I don't know if I want to animate that.
Yeah.
So I like everything. It's a matter of like balancing creativity with efficiency.
Yeah, I mean, because I want to have for Panet and I think it's Kahua, especially those two. I think they want to. I want to have different outfits, maybe even for um, the Razak character because um, they don't have any tribal outfits when you look at it. You see the tattoos, but I don't know if the tribal outfits are actually needed for every scenario. Just as long as you know when they fight, you can see it in there. Maybe they have a flag or some sort of emblem or something that they do that represents how they their stance or things that they do or as a ritual before they actually fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and tattoos, obviously, that's something that when you're doing animation, that's a whole ball of wax with how you're gonna handle that. I ain't got no tips. My tip is do this shit in CG. but that's a
Then
whole
you can do whatever character, you can do whatever outfits you want.
exactly. Oh yeah, and King's Little Fitness also mentioned. I'm not sure how well you know Steven Silver's work, but he said going over the Steven Silver book on shapes. He's an animation guy. Does a lot of character design for like big studios, and his stuff tends to be more Pixar-ish, terms of cartoony and rounded. But definitely he's a great character designer. So,
Okay.
all right. On that note, we're gonna wrap it up. We go and also Kingsville Fitness said, "Wow, cooking for the month." So shout out to you for props and holding it down with the culinary skills there. And let's bring this in for a landing. So again, Amar's YouTube channel and his Instagram are linked in the description for this video on YouTube. But for anyone else, if you want to give a shout out for anything else you want people to check out, anything you want to direct them to, or to where they should look for you online as well.
No, the Instagram link, that's to my most active Instagram. Probably shows a little bit more diversity than my personal Instagram. And then my YouTube channel, I have a lot of videos. The only problem with the videos is they're super long and they're basically live streams like this. I need to work on making more curated content that speaks to specific things and probably generate a lot more interest for the channel. But it's more casual, like how this channel is. You know, you just hang out and just share what you're working on, good and the bad. So,
all right. Well, again, thank you for having you on. And for the rest of y'all, this coming week, we're going to be having a art book study group for those that are Patreon subscribers, where we dig into some of the best art books around, trying to suck all the knowledge out we can. I know that I said going forward, they were going to be on Tuesday nights. However, starting in October, I'm going to have a class that I'm attending that's going to be on Tuesday night. So I'm going to have to switch it to a different night. And right now, I think that different night we're going to switch it to. We're going to try Wednesday nights for now and see how that goes. So maybe for the rest of the year, it'll either be Wednesday nights or Monday nights. This next one coming up, we're going to do Wednesday. So we're continuing our deep dive on Art Reads The Figure. That'll be 7:30 Pacific Standard Time. And as always, the replay is going to be available for Patreon subscribers to watch whenever. And there's already a backlog of like hundreds of hours of doing deep dive studies into some of the best art books around. We've got some stuff on Bridgman, some animal drawing from Ken Holmgren as well. You guys can get that for as little as $2 a month. if you head on over to patreon.com/Jeremy, that's patreon.com/GERIMI. You'll also be able to read my my existing comics in an online digital archive. Get access to our Patreon exclusive Discord server where we share process, feedback, tips, and more. If you would like to get a free digital sketchbook, get work in progress animated GIFs delivered right to your inbox, and blog posts about what I'm reading, what I'm watching, what's inspiring me creatively, you can sign up for my free monthly newsletter at newsletter.jeremy.net. And if you'd like to purchase physical copies of my comics, create digitally on Comixology or Kindle, go to amazon.jeremy.net. That'll forward you to my Amazon author page. You pick up books like, I just realized I'm doing the big ass version. I just look at it now and I'm like, why am I all up in the screen? Why am I all up in the screen? I don't need to be in your face like that. It's too aggressive. My first graphic novel, Eye of the Gods. It's a psychological thriller about a man cursed with visions he cannot control. Self-contained story. You can pick up my most recent comic book, Morning Star. It is Lucifer's Fall from Heaven, told as a Western. It's an 8-issue series. Volume 1 contains issues 1 through 4. Volume 2 contains issues 5 through 8. Both have extensive back matter, character designs, sketches, thumbnails, page layouts, and photo reference and more. You can check all those out at amazon.jeremy.net, and there are book flip-throughs on the YouTube homepage. So please check all those out. And again, thank you so much for joining me, Amar. All right. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out for the live stream. Hope this was interesting and entertaining. We'll dive into, we'll have Amar back to dive into more figure drawing talks, some more down the line. I'm not figure drawing, character design talks. So thank you, everybody. That's it for now. Go be creative.